Hello there, you're welcome here again to Prep with Chigozie. And on this segment, we're going to be treating the paragraph heading question type under the reading segment of the IELTS. Yes, and for this question, I figured from my experience training students for this course that many students tend to read the paragraph. They begin by reading the paragraph quite quickly and then trying to match up to the title immediately. Even though the question seems to come off like that, that is not often the best approach to apply, right? Now, I'll take you through the best sections of the text of the paragraph to read even more carefully to be able to get your answer, how to start dealing with the question as well. All of those you're going to learn in today's section. So without wasting so much time, let's delve right into it. Yes. Now, the passage I have with me here, titled Food for Thought, is important for me to emphasize at this point that you should expect 2 to 3 question types based on the same passage, right? Which means that you have to go look at the questions first. Don't be too much in a hurry so that you just start reading the passage and trying to match up to the respective headings. That could be counterproductive. So you want to be sure to highlight the keywords you have on each of the headings, right? Even you can go as far as trying to look at other question types, because often you discover that the paragraph that you're reading to give a heading to, in that same paragraph, you could find answers to the other kinds of questions. I am talking about the true, false, not given, the sentence completion that are still based on the same passage. Which is why it's important for you to highlight the keywords you have on the different range of questions first before delving into the paragraph. Now, but because this section is devoted entirely to paragraph heading, we'll just focus on that. Now, what do we do with the headings first? Read each of the headings and ensure that you understand them. And by understanding them, it could make a lot of sense to rephrase the titles, put them in your own words, ensure that you own them, ensure that you understand them well enough that once you get into the paragraph and you come across anything familiar, you know, I've seen this before, I'm sure it is talking about this title. So for the list of titles we have here, because we're not going to have to deal with all the questions anyway, I'll be quite quick with this one, and you can take a pause on the video right now so that you can capture all the headings, and I'm going to leave a link to this particular test on the description segment of this video so that you can try more questions. You can try the other paragraphs on your own in your own time. So yes, the first title we have here says a historical delicacy. So I want to try to understand this. It means that that paragraph is going to discuss a kind of dish that people have eaten over time, right? And the poor may benefit. I am thinking maybe there could be measures put in place to ensure that those that are impoverished, those that do not have the capacity to provide certain basic amenities for themselves, are able to, to enjoy from whatever innovations. The third heading, presentation is key to changing attitudes. Because I know the title is food for thought, I'm looking at something that has to do with food, and I've seen delicacy. So I'm thinking this idea of presentation has to do with maybe the manner in which the meal is presented could make the meal more attractive, more palatable. Environmentally friendly production. Okay, environmentally friendly. I am thinking about the paragraph discussing whatever this dish has to do should ensure that toxins are not released into the atmosphere, or the production practice involved in making the food, right, does not contribute to release of toxic chemicals into the atmosphere. Tradition meets technology. I'm looking at tradition and technology collaborating on doing something. A cultural pioneer. I want to see a person. Yes, a person, a personality, someone that started the idea of something. And it could be tied to food as well, as the title has already given us headway about that. What titles, right? So I can start with any of the paragraphs now. Now, how do I approach the paragraph? Back to the point I hinted at earlier, there are three important things to note. First of all, the first sentence. The first sentence, more often than not, tend to introduce the topic sentence of the paragraph. What is a topic sentence? A topic sentence is that sentence in the paragraph that ties everything else in that paragraph together. It is the summary. It is more or less an introductory statement that every other detail you will come across in the paragraph emphasizes or highlights, right? And yes, you could find the topic sentence in the first sentence. It happens 70% of the time on IELTS passages. Other times it could be in the last sentence. Take us to the next part. The last sentence is another important part to look at. And finally, look out for recurring detail, right? A paragraph that has to do with a particular kind of dish, for example, would mention that dish, the name of the dish, in a variety of ways, right? And there is something you also have to ensure you do, right? I've just mentioned the three segments, that the introduction, the concluding sentence, and recurring detail, right? But what you also have to do, ensure that you are able to summarize the paragraph yourself before looking at the headings. Very important. And I love to tell my students this maxim: if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. What does that mean? It means that if you don't have any understanding, if you don't have any clue after reading the paragraph as to what the paragraph is discussing on your own, you're bound to be tempted by any title that looks close but may not be it. So you see, so you want to ensure that you have an idea. Oh, tell yourself, oh, this paragraph is all about so and so that whenever you come across something similar to that prediction you made in the title, right, among the list of titles, you know, oh, you already have your answer, right? So yes, so we'll try all of those with this paragraph now. From the first sentence, we have, why not eat insects? That's a rhetorical question, I guess. So as British entomologist Vincent Holt, in the title of his 1885 treatise in the benefit of what he named entomophagy, the consumption of insects as a food source. So from this first sentence, I am saying that somebody is, of course, the name of an entomologist is introduced, and the whole of that sentence seems to be discussing his idea about eating insects, right? So I think that would guide me through the rest of the passage. So far, I can see the idea of the newness of eating insects, and I can see the person at the center. Moving on, the prospect of eating dishes such as wireworm sauce and slug soup failed to garner favor among those in the stuffy, proper Victorian social milieu of his time. However, and Holt's visionary ideas, they mention that man's name again. Remember, I mentioned repeated details, so they're talking about his visionary ideas some more and what existed during his time. Let's move on quickly into the last sentence. Anticipating such a reaction, Holt acknowledged the difficulty in unseating deep-rooted prejudices against insect quiz. Like I say, cultural prejudice, right? And that's it, discussing Holt trying to introduce something new. But quietly asserted his confidence that we shall someday quite gladly cook and eat them. Now, if I were to summarize everything I have seen, I can see a certain entomologist trying to introduce the idea of eating insects, and he's quite hopeful too. So that is my summary. And then if I were to highlight repeated details and how that influenced my summary, we see this person's name mentioned a lot of time, right? So yes, I think this is a no-brainer at this point. The right title for this one should be a cultural pioneer, right? That looks close here, a historical delicacy. Remember, for a delicacy to be termed historical, it means that people must have been patronizing that delicacy for a long time prior when this article is written. But as we have here, right, the idea of eating insects is more or less not accepted during this man's time. So he's more or less introducing it. So you see how that makes sense, right? So once I come your way next time with another insightful tip, just as I have given you today. I wish you the very best on your test and keep practicing.